You know that feeling, right? The second someone tells you not to do something, you suddenly want to do it more than anything. Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on that little mind trick. It's called reverse psychology, and we're going to figure out exactly how it works.
Hold on. Did you feel that just now? That little spark of, hey, don't tell me what to do. If you did, congratulations. You just experienced reverse psychology in real time. All right, let's really get into this.
So here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with what's called the forbidden fruit effect. Then we'll get into the actual science of why no is such a trigger. We'll look at some real-world examples, talk about how to do it right, the art of subtlety, and wrap up with the big one, the difference between influencing someone and just plain manipulating them.
All right, let's kick things off with the forbidden fruit effect. I mean, what is it really about being told you can't have something that just cranks up your desire for it to 11? It's wired into us. The second something's off limits, it gets this shiny new appeal, doesn't it? That prohibition, that little barrier, it creates this intense curiosity, this wanting, that just wasn't there a minute ago. And this is where the real magic, or maybe the trick, comes in. It's not just about blurting out the opposite of what you want. No. It's about framing it in such a clever way that the other person chooses your desired outcome all on their own. Or at least, they think it was their idea.
But, this isn't some hocus pocus. It's pure psychology. So, what is actually going on inside our heads that makes a simple word like don't flip such a big switch? Let's look at the science behind it.
Okay, so the official scientific name for this is psychological reactance. It's a fancy term, but think of it like a freedom alarm inside your brain. It's that instant gut level, you feel when it seems like someone's trying to box you in, control you, or limit your choices. This feeling, it's the engine driving that whole forbidden fruit thing. At our core, we're just hardwired to protect our independence. So when we feel that freedom is under attack, our first instinct, that knee-jerk reaction, is to push back, to take back control. I mean, let's be honest, who really likes being told what to do?
Okay, let's look at a classic parent-kid scenario. You say, do your homework, and what happens? Instant resistance, right? It feels like an order. But what if you flip the script? What if you said, this homework looks pretty tough. I'm not sure you can handle it. See what happens? You've just turned it into a challenge. Now their brain is screaming, oh yeah? I'll show you. And suddenly they want to do it, just to prove you wrong.
All right, so that's the science behind it. But where do we actually see this stuff in action? Well, it turns out once you know what to look for, you start seeing it absolutely everywhere, from history books to the ads you see online.
This is one of my favorite stories. Back in the 1700s, King Frederick the Great of Prussia had a big problem. There was a famine looming, and he needed his people to eat potatoes, but they just refused. They thought they were gross. So direct orders failed. What did he do? He pulled a genius move. He declared potatoes a royal vegetable, planted them in a special garden, and then, this is the best part, he put guards around it. Suddenly, these forbidden potatoes seemed incredibly valuable. People started sneaking in to steal them, and before you know it, the potato became a staple food. Brilliant, right?
And it's not just about kings and potatoes, of course. This technique is a quiet little tool used in all sorts of jobs. You've got therapists using it to get past a patient's defenses, lawyers trying to get a suspect to talk, and of course, it's a total classic for parents, salespeople, and pretty much any boss trying to motivate their team.
Think about this in a modern office. You've got a tough project, and your teammate is dragging their feet. Instead of ordering them to do it, you could say something like, this is probably too big a challenge. Maybe we should just pass on it. And what happens? For the right person, that's like waving a red flag. Their competitive side kicks in, and suddenly they're saying, no way, I got this. I'll lead it myself.
Okay, but here's a huge, huge disclaimer. This is not some magic wand you can just wave at everyone. So, does it work on everybody? Short answer, heck no. It's an art form, really. Success is all about being subtle and, most importantly, knowing who you're talking to. So, who does it work on? Think about people who are naturally a bit rebellious or defiant. The independent thinkers, the stubborn ones, the super competitive types. They thrive on being challenged. But if you try this on someone who's really agreeable or just wants to make you happy, it's going to blow up in your face. They'll just say, oh, okay, you're right, we shouldn't do it, and take you literally. So if you're ever going to give this a shot, you gotta follow the rules. First, keep the tone light, almost playful. Don't be condescending. Second, you have to be subtle. If they sniff out what you're doing, it's game over. You also have to be a good reader of the room. What's the mood? And of course, understand their personality. And the golden rule, don't overdo it. If you use it all the time, people will see right through you, and it'll stop working fast. And that brings us to the last and honestly the most important part of this whole conversation. Because when you're talking about a tool that can influence people's choices, well, there's a very fine, very important line between healthy influence and ugly manipulation. So where is that line?
It really all boils down to one simple thing: your intention. Ask yourself, are you trying to motivate someone toward a goal that's good for both of you? Or are you trying to trick them for your own benefit, maybe even to make them feel small?
Here's the difference. When it's done right, with good intentions, it's about respect. It's about finding a win-win, and it can actually make a relationship stronger. But when it crosses into manipulation, that's all about disrespect, about getting what you want. And if the other person finds out, trust is gone, completely shattered.
So, look, reverse psychology is a fascinating piece of our mental wiring. It's a tool, but it's one that should probably stay at the bottom of the toolbox, used only when really necessary. Because at the end of the day, you know what's almost always the better option? Just being straight with people. Clear, honest communication. That's the real foundation of any good relationship. And that leaves us with something to chew on. When you influence someone's choice like this, are you creating that choice out of thin air? Or are you just helping them get past their own resistance to uncover something they wanted or were capable of all along? Something to think about.